So I have a little bit of a problem. I want to dip, but I have no dip rack. And as you can see, this is very frustrating for me. Now, I remembered I have a weight bench, but, as you can see, there's no dip attachment, so I still can't do dips. But since I am very smart and handsome, I've thought of a way to build one, using some wood and some other things. Here I'm cutting out the legs, and I'm actually cutting the feet at a slight angle, that way the legs lean towards my weight bench. I'll use the first leg as a guide to make sure that the second leg is exactly the same size. The idea is to have a couple dip bars that are hinged to these legs that I can unfold and attach to the weight bench. Here I'm making a mark at about the same height as the holes in my weight bench, so I can drill a hole and stick a pipe through that and use it as the hinge. I'll start with a small pilot hole, but before I drill the hole to its final size, I'll actually use that smaller hole and a transfer punch to make sure that I have a mark in the same spot on the other leg. Now I'm going old school with some hand tools. It actually gives me more control. I know all the real woodworkers out there are maybe a little concerned that I'm not using a bit with the correct shank, but that's all I got right now. Now I have ordered the correct adapter, I promise, but I couldn't wait to do this. I need to dip, like real bad. And here I am, attempting to break the tool. It didn't work, the wood gave first. Now I'll join the two legs with a couple other pieces of wood, and here I'm just marking out where I want to put them. I'll go ahead and set my table saw blade to the thickness of the boards. Now I'm just transferring those marks I made earlier over the edge so I can see where I'm going, and use my crosscut sled to start cutting out notches in the legs. So instead of just cutting this long notch completely with my table saw blade, I'm leaving some gaps, and it makes these little wafers that I can just knock over like this. Then I can just clean it up on the table saw by sliding it back and forth. And then clean it up more with a file. Next I'll cut out the boards that join the two legs. So I'm gonna bolt these together because I want the joints to be pretty strong. And here I'm marking out some nice neat lines so that the bolts look orderly when I put them in. Okay, so before I drill the final holes, I need to make sure everything's square. So I'll use this old tried and true method. Yep, looks pretty square to me. I'll get these holes started with a shorter drill bit, and then, using a very secret method, I will stretch out the drill bit to be longer and drill the rest of the way through. Now I'll slightly widen the holes in my connecting boards to make bolting up a little bit easier. I will then take bolts that I stretched using the same secret method and feed them through. If you buy my book for $1 million, you too can learn the secret stretchy method to make things longer. And as an added bonus, you too will learn how to make your voice sound like that of a cheesy, obnoxious radio host. So the dip bars need to be a little bit more than shoulder width apart, but where this feeds into my weight bench needs to be a lot wider. So I'm making this sort of double stacked 2x4 connector with 4 holes in it. And now they kiss. Next I'll glue the two boards together using plenty of gloopy gloopy glue. find it helps to do this.
Yeah, bringing out the clamps. Clamping them. Clamping. Clamp. Just gotta clamp them. You gotta clamp them.
I'll also use a few screws. Now, gluing it like this can be pretty messy, but it results in one of my favorite snacks, floor glue. If I just have enough tortilla chips, then I can clean all this up easily. Now everything's nice and dry, and I can
Clamp them.
Now I'm just marking out where I want to drill those 4 holes that I mentioned earlier. Once again, I started with some pilot holes on the drill press, and I'll bring out my bit brace.
This one's got a clamp, because the hole needs to be even bigger.
I'll use some 1/2-inch pipe for the part that feeds into the weight bench. And I'll set a clamp as the dead stop so I can cut another piece to exactly the same length. I like to use this style of deburr tool to clean up the inner diameter. And I just use a belt sander for the outside. I'll use a thicker 3/4 inch pipe for the actual dip bars. I'll start by drilling a hole through the shorter pieces, that way I can bolt them through the 2x4 beam that I made. I'll carefully mark out the location of the bolt hole, that way it's aligned with the pipe hole that I made earlier. Just finishing the hole here with my elongated drill bit. It's a pretty tight fit. So I'm marking out the location of 4 holes in the pipe that spans between the 2 legs, 2 for the dip bars and 2 for some pins that'll help lock it in place. Using a marker and a flat surface, I can make sure that all the holes are along the same line. I'll also mark out the location for the bolt holes in the dip bars using a similar method. Now, a quick and dirty method to make sure that all holes are drilled roughly the same way is taking a bolt and putting it through a hole I've already drilled and watching to make sure that it's straight up and down when I drill the other holes. Here I'm drilling the bolt holes in the wood. Alright, so the general structure's done, but I still need to make some additions. That way it doesn't collapse when it's subjected to my maximum dipping forces. For this locking pin, I'll make some brackets that it can slide into. I'll use some steel angle and set a dead stop so I can cut 4 pieces to the same length. Gotta make sure to deburr first, so that those pesky little burrs don't interfere with the setting of the correct length. And I'll knock the burrs off the other side too. Now I'll drill 2 holes to mount the brackets to the wood, and then 1 hole in the center for the pin. Now I'm gonna
Clamp them.
and I'm gonna
Screw them in.
yeah, just like that. Works pretty good. Now I'll attach the dip bars with a bolt and a wing nut. And here I'll add another pin, so the whole thing doesn't just slide back from the weight bench. I'll make some marks, and I'll take this thing back out because I don't know how to plan ahead of time.
They never taught me that in school. Why didn't they teach me that in school? Teachers get paid a ton of money. They should have taught me that.
Looking pretty good. And I'll tie some strings to all my pins. That way I don't lose them into the bottomless abyss where all my other small hardware seems to go. And it is done. So I'll try it out. Yes. Yes. Perfect. Now I can use it to dip my most favoriteest snack in the whole world. So I'll drill a hole through this tortilla chip, and I'll use a carbide tip bit because this thing is pretty hard. I can feed a little string through the little hole, and I can dangle it. Here goes nothing. Yes. 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 It has worked and I am a genius. Let's give it a little taste. Delicious. Delicious.